It is the 29th of October 2014. A very good evening. My name is Wavinya Wanyasa. We begin by taking a look at some of the stories making headlines. The Ebola effect. 9 Kenyans from Liberia under quarantine. Girl-child empowerment. Just what more needs to be done? And fare thee well. Zambia's President Michael Sata dies in London. Welcome. Now, 9 Kenyans who were stranded in Liberia yesterday arrived at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and were immediately taken in for screening at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI. Meanwhile, the World Bank has committed to finance Kenyan volunteers going to the West African nation to help combat Ebola. Wairemo gives us more on this story.
Kenyans that were earlier stranded in the Ebola-stricken nation of Liberia arrived at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Tuesday night. Blood samples were then taken for screening to the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI. According to the Ministry of Health, the 9 Kenyans, constituting of 5 adults and 4 children, were to be held for 6 hours and then later allowed to go home if the results turned out negative. Accordingly, the Ministry of Health personnel will make daily follow-ups on the 9 for the next 21 days. Meanwhile, World Bank President Jim Yong Kim, while touring the Kenyatta National Hospital, Tuesday said that the World Bank would finance Kenyan volunteers going to West Africa in the fight against Ebola. He said that Kenya has made a lot of progress in health service delivery, challenging other nations to follow the country's example in building strong health systems to help the situation. In the same breath, the African Union has pledged more than 1,000 personnel to help combat Ebola after a slow response to the outbreak of the disease. The international community has ramped up aid, including sending some medics and supplies to Sierra Leone, Guinea and Liberia, where the epidemic has crippled poor and under-equipped health systems. Reporting for WTV News, I'm Wairemo Mbogwa.
Now, this story brings us to our feedback question, and we asked, do you support the quarantine decision on Kenyans from Liberia? Do you support the quarantine decision on Kenyans from Liberia? Let us know by sending us a text on 20058, and we'll get to sample some of your thoughts and post them on our Facebook page, WTV Kenya. Moving on now, unemployment levels in the country have been quite a concern over the years. But for the girl child, the situation is even more dire. Question is, can something be done to change the tide? Irene Galgalo gives us more.
Looking for employment in Kenya has proven to be a daunting task, and the current freeze of employment in government does little to help the situation. The unemployed youth in the country consequently end up with little or no knowledge of skills such as CV writing and interviewing. To this effect, the Akili Dada Foundation has come up with job preparedness workshops held to help equip young ladies who are looking to enter the job market with the skills they need to succeed.
The job preparedness workshop was really birthed out of our own personal experiences. During the earlier part of the year, we had a lot of interviews for different positions at our organization. And just during the interview process, we found that these young women were completely clueless. Even the first question, which is usually most employers ask, tell us about yourself. A lot of young women did not know how to answer that question. They don't know, do you start from primary? Do you start from university? How do you tell about yourself? And so since our main focus, one of the things that we do for young women is to build their capacity, skills building. And so we thought this is an area that, is a gap and we need to fill it.
But just what does the foundation hope to achieve by hosting such workshops for the unemployed young ladies?
So out of this workshop, we hope that every single young woman here will be able to interview successfully, will come out of here with a CV that they are proud of and that employers will accept because of the skills that they've learned from this workshop. But ultimately, we hope that as a result of this workshop, they do get jobs.
According to Pamina Swainaina of Corporate Staffing Services, there are a number of mistakes that fresh graduates make in the process of looking for employment that disqualify them from recruitment.
You find an employer wants to know what is your current or last salary, and they will not do that. They will not indicate. The other one is inability to follow simple instructions. For example, someone you ask you, send me your CV and cover letter. But you find someone just sending the CV. Okay. The other challenge I've seen is where job seekers, they go for jobs which are not in their area of specialization, or where they don't even have the skills or the number of experience that an employer is looking for. So you find, yes, simply because you've seen the job is paying between 50 to 60,000, you're a fresh graduate, you feel, let me go for that.
There are about 30 young ladies attending this 3-day workshop, and there is a sense of renewed hope in them for the future.
I'm a recent graduate. I graduated in August, and I've never gone to any formal interview. So that was the main reason I was attracted to this workshop, because I need experience. I need to know what to expect when I go for interviews. I need to know when I'm applying for a job, what is expected of me.
Initiatives such as these job preparedness workshops should be the norm the country over, as they serve to equip the unemployed youth with the necessary skills to compete successfully in the job market. Reporting for WTV News, I am Irene Galgalo.
And across the borders, Zambia reports from Zambia reveal that President Michael Sata, 77, died in London while receiving treatment. There was, however, no immediate confirmation from Zambian officials in the capital, Lusaka. The Independent Zambia reports quoted multiple sources among Sata's delegation as confirming that he had died, while the Zambian watchdog website said it had 100% confirmation of the president's death. Sata has long been rumored to be seriously ill and has not been seen in the public since returning home from the UN General Assembly last month, where he failed to make a scheduled speech. He flew to London a week ago for treatment. When he left Zambia for London, Sata appointed Minister of Defense and Justice Edgar Lungu as acting president. Vice President Guy Scott has regularly stood in for the president at official events in recent months, but he is of Scottish descent, which could make him ineligible to take over the presidency, as his parents were not born in Zambia. And just to remind you, on our feedback question we had earlier on asked, do you support the quarantine decision on Kenyans from Liberia? Do you support the quarantine decision on Kenyans from Liberia? Do SMS us your thoughts on 20058. We'll get to sample some of them and post them on our Facebook page, WTV Kenya. And finally, Oscar Pistorius began his 5-year jail term stretch on October the 21st after being found guilty of culpable homicide, a charge that is equivalent to manslaughter. But the state-led prosecution says it will be appealing the verdict. Winnie Otieno takes a closer look.
Mr. Pistorius, please rise.
Trial Judge Tokizili Masipa found in September that there was no enough evidence to convict the 27-year-old Paralympic and Olympic athlete of premeditated murder.
From the outset, Dola's directives, in other words, direct intent was never on the table. So the only real issue to be determined from a legal perspective was the question of intent by means of Dolus eventualis, what the talk is all about the whole day. But my personal view was from the outset, Barry Rue and the defense team should have came out probably maybe suggesting that culpable homicide, maybe given a plea on culpable homicide from the outset. That could have saved us months on end.
Her verdict angered the state prosecution, which had sought to prove that Pistorius deliberately shot his girlfriend on Valentine's Day last year. Pistorius began a 5-year prison stretch on the 21st of October after being found guilty of culpable homicide.
The following is what I consider to be a sentence that is fair and just both to society and to the accused. Count 1, culpable homicide. The sentence imposed is a maximum imprisonment of 5 years imposed in terms of Section 276 1I of the Criminal Procedure Act, number 51 of 1977.
The case could be heard by the Supreme Court of Appeal in the central city of Bloemfontein or by a bench of 3 High Court judges. Reporting for WTV News, I am Winnie Otieno.
Well, and that's it from our news desk. Do have yourselves a pleasant evening and a good day tomorrow. My name is Wavinya Wanyasa.